This is our latest agent, Vyse. Will she be absolutely broken upon release, or will she fall in the low tier categories like Deadlock and Harbor? Time to talk about it, starting with the first ability, Arc Rose. Deploy an invisible Arc Rose, reused to blind all players who look at it, and it can also be redeployed. You can also right click or alternate fire, so it goes through the wall, so you can place it where you're looking or behind the wall you're looking at, and then you activate it and boom, it basically sets up a flash. Now, honestly, this is unique. This is a new mechanic. Not only are you setting a flash to be deployed, but you can choose to deploy it where you're looking or behind the wall you're looking at. This is actually really cool, similar to a breach flash that can just be set up as a trap. This is unique, and I absolutely love that it is unique. Will it be any good or strong in the game? To be honest, yeah, I think her signature ability here is fantastic. When it comes to the exact timers, can it be broken, etc., we don't fully know. Based off how it looks when it's deployed, I'm gonna say yes, because it's invisible after it's deployed, meaning if you're throwing, it's not meant to be thrown as like a duelist or an initiator, meaning if you throw it and the enemy spots you setting it up similar to a Cypher camp, they're gonna flick, it's going to be gone. It's just going to be fully wasted. So you have to actually use it in a smart sense, which does make it a different flash compared to everyone else, because it has to be set up completely differently. It has to be used completely differently, especially because I believe, not confirmed, I believe it can be broken just because it's a trap and it's set up as a sentinel. But overall, I don't think this is going to be overpowered in any way, but I think it's going to be a fun ability to use. Nothing too crazy to counter. I think it's a fair ability as well. Overall, well designed. We can also see a 20-second cooldown in this clip once the flash is initiated, so it is rechargeable every 20 seconds, which inherently on its own makes it pretty strong. I think it does make it fair just because, again, you're not throwing it through a wall like a breach flash to take insane fights. There's some thought process. It probably needs to be placed with some foresight, and because of that, it will help balance it. So I'm gonna say fair, well-designed ability that leans strong, but nothing overpowered so far. The next ability, Sheer. Set a hidden trap that spawns a brief indestructible wall when triggered by the enemies. Okay, so this one is weird. So the way it's portrayed in the trailer, for example, is to sort of force your enemies to commit to a site, or at least trap or isolate your enemies. So a lot of times it's showing the duelist come in, and then that wall basically divides the duelist coming in first with the team following up. This conceptually is kind of cool, right? If you think about it, this is again something unique, something new to Valorant. Indestructible, meaning you cannot shoot it, so the enemies are forced to wait at the timer, which sort of makes sense. It's likely a short timer, something like 5 or 6 seconds, but enough to isolate the duelist. So let's say you hear Jet dash in, you know you've placed your wall goes up, you initiate your blinds, and you take an advantageous fight against Jet, picking off the duelist. That's sort of the point. It's isolation and division. When it comes to the strength of the ability, however, this is really hard to answer because it actually depends on how obvious it is that there's a trip. Like, you know how you sort of start building tolerance to knowing where Cypher trips are? So maybe shooting them or playing around them, but it didn't diminish how strong they are, if that makes sense. However, I wonder types of counterplay that are possible with this. Let's say a Yoru TP to get past it. That could be kind of cool. A clone to trigger it, and then later the entire team goes together. That could be past it. I wonder if your entire team can kind of bundle up close and then jump, let's say in their own examples, out of heaven together. So it gets triggered, but you're flooding sight. It's really going to depend on all these factors. But even the examples I'm giving are niche. It's actually going to depend even more so on interaction. So we need to know interaction. So how close do you have to get? How obvious is it when it's unveiled? How well is it hidden basically? And can it be broken? You know what I mean? What can we actually, once Sheer is down, what can someone do with it? You know what I mean? What can an enemy do about the fact that a Sheer is down? That's gonna simply decide how strong it is. Because conceptually, it actually sounds balanced, and then it's gonna lean towards weak or strong depending on all the other factors that we don't know about. Her next ability, Razor Vine. Launch a Razor Vine nest that becomes invisible. When activated, slows and damages enemies. So very, very, very similar to a Nano Swarm all around. A damaging invisible molly that you can trigger. It also slows down the enemies. I actually think there isn't too much to talk about. I assume very similar to a molly. It's gonna be great for post plant, but people can shoot it out. There's gonna be ways to hide it better, and I think it's basically its balance and strength level is going to be identical to Killjoy's molly. I'm not gonna lie, that's how I am seeing it. It does inherently slow, so that Killjoy kind of tends to combo them. So the turret shoots you, slows you, tags you, slows you even more, and then you pop the molly, etc. But overall, the fact that it slows probably means it does some less tick damage than Killjoy's molly. I think this is good, solid, not too much to talk about. I don't want to complicate it because meta-wise, strategy-wise, it's gonna be very similar. Like some nuances, but very similar to Killjoy's molly. And now we go to the fun one. All right, Steel Garden. Unleash a torrent of metal thorns that jams nearby enemies' primary weapons after wind up. Okay, this one is super interesting to me. At a base level, it is a new mechanic, right? We've never had anyone who stops primary guns. That is extraordinarily niche, and it's actually something that needs to be properly dissected, because let's look at it at face value. In a 1v1, you can pop this ultimate to make sure it's pistol versus vandal, and often if it's full buy, they'll have a classic. Some people are gonna say, oh, if Vyse has ult, maybe stock up on sheriffs or whatever, frenzies, or you know, whatever you need to upgrade your pistol. But still, you don't know when it's gonna happen, and that means you are forcing an economy downside. Like we're talking about, like, what, 5 pistols, like 500 credits. That's kind of crazy on the team's economy overall, especially because Vyse might not use it. You might kill Vyse at the start of the round, and then every round you'll buy it if you die. I don't know if that's really a counter is what I'm trying to say. I think for the most part, the counter is you either position in a ratty position to get a good classic kill, because that's what most likely you'll have. No abilities are disabled, so jet, movement, etc. Get the heck out of there. If you know where Vyse is coming from, make sure a Sage Wall is ready to trap the Vyse to reduce the duration or completely eliminate the duration. Counter ult with something like a Killjoy to stop the push. Those make more sense than everyone buys a different pistol like what I'm reading online. That doesn't make sense to me. That's the first thing. Second of all, I don't think it's best used in a 1v1. It's best used to take a site because it'll scare the shit out of defenders. Retake a site because same idea. Like in some senses, you know, similar situations to where a Killjoy ult is used, you can see this ult used. Of course, it'll play out differently, very differently. Counterplay is very different, but I just mean where it's going to be procced, where you're actually going to set it up, seems along that side of things, but still there's some unique aspects. For example, if let's say 5 of your team force buy, and then the enemies have full buy, and you pop this ult, it's now a force buy versus a pistol, especially for initially taking site. You take that site, they drop the guns, you upgrade from a force buy to a full buy, or at least some of your teammates do, and it really can flip the advantage to your site, which is the purpose of an ult, and plenty of ults do just that. I think her ult overall depends a lot on how long it lasts, seems strong. I'm not gonna say overpowered, however, some people might call it overpowered because of one thing. Doesn't seem super fun to play against. Like KO, when he came out, pops his ult, you are now talking about pushing a site, not worrying about enemy abilities. That is strong. It's not fun to play against, but KO isn't broken. Does that make sense? I don't see a KO ult as overpowered. This is stronger. Guns are a little bit more important than abilities for just taking gunfights, you know, actually killing the enemy. But still, with all that being said, I think it's something that will be more frustrating to play against than it is truly overpowered, yet still, I would say it leans towards strong. Just being strong. However, taking everything together, is Vyse a strong agent overall? I'm going to refrain from saying she's broken since we do not have enough information. I need to see how people play. We need to see how hard she is. We need to see interactions, abilities, etc. in action. However, I think at face value, she is an amazing character that leads towards the strong side. If I am just throwing a coin in, I'm just predicting with you guys, just having fun, I think she's going to launch as an A tier agent with the potential of being S like Clove, but I don't see her being as like strong or overpowered as Clove's initial release. So I'm gonna anticipate an A tier agent on our hands, but I want to know what you guys think. Have fun in the comments. F, B, C, A tier, whatever. What category would you predict this agent to be upon her release into Valorant? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching.